I can give you $40. Please don't kill me. 15-year-old Xavier Childs was bleeding on the ground. His brother Raymond stood over him, gun in hand. Their parents were already dead, shot in their basement bedroom. Their older brother Elijah, their 13-year-old sister Rita, Elijah's pregnant girlfriend Kiara, 9 months along, baby named Khaos, all shot by Raymond. Over a curfew, Xavier offered everything he had, $44. Raymond said nothing, just pulled the trigger, twice, once in the leg, once in the arm, tried for the head but missed, left his baby brother to bleed out. But Xavier survived, crawled to a neighbor's porch, told police everything. Raymond Ronald Lee Childs III, Xavier said, over and over. January 24, 2021. Indianapolis, Indiana. 6 people murdered, 1 survivor, all because a 17-year-old broke curfew. March 10, 2025. Raymond Childs III was sentenced to 360 years in prison. He stood in court, looked at his surviving family. I'm not a killer, he said. I'm not a murderer. But Xavier knows the truth. He watched through a crack in the laundry room door, watched Raymond shoot their parents, heard their father's last words, "I'm sorry, Raymond. I love you." Then Raymond came for him. Before we continue with what happened that night, like this video, share it, subscribe to Crime Case Voices and hit the notification bell. Comment, what would you have offered? But before Raymond pulled that trigger, before Xavier begged for his life with $44, before 6 people died in that house, there was a family, a normal family, living on Adams Street. And Raymond Childs III was about to destroy all of it. 3518 Adams Street, Indianapolis, Indiana. A modest single-family home, beige siding, small front porch, chain-link fence around the yard, working-class neighborhood on the northeast side. This was where the Childs family lived. Raymond Childs Jr., 42 years old, music producer, founder of Just Real Records and Just Real Visions Entertainment. He worked with local youth in Indianapolis, ran programs called New Street, New Path, and New Wave, incorporated mentoring young people through music and community outreach. Raymond Jr. believed in structure, discipline, tough love. He wasn't abusive, family members later said. He was strict. He had rules, but he cared about his kids. His wife Kezzie Childs, 42, Raymond Jr.'s second wife, stepmother to some of the children. She worked full-time, helped manage the household, made sure everyone had what they needed. The children, Elijah Childs, 18, the oldest, quiet, responsible, gentle, had a girlfriend he loved. Raymond Childs III, 17, born October 30th, 2003, complicated, troubled, angry. Xavier Childs, 15, the middle son, close with his brothers, would become the sole survivor. Rita Childs, 13, the baby girl, sweet, still in middle school, loved her family, and 3 younger children who weren't home that night. They survived because they were staying elsewhere. Elijah's girlfriend Kiara Hawkins, 19, was practically part of the family. She was 9 months pregnant, due January 31st, 2021, exactly 1 week after the murders. They'd already picked the baby's name, Khaos Hawkins. Khaos, spelled with a K, meant to be unique, special. Kiara was excited, nervous, ready to be a mother. She and Elijah had plans, get their own place, raise Khaos together, build a life. But Raymond Childs III had different plans. Raymond III had a difficult childhood. He didn't grow up with his father. His mother raised him in the early years. According to court testimony later, Raymond III witnessed domestic violence as a child, saw his mother being physically harmed by boyfriends. He felt helpless, couldn't protect her. It traumatized him. At age 12, Raymond III moved in with his father Raymond Jr. They barely knew each other, hadn't lived together, hadn't built a relationship. Now they had to start from scratch. Raymond Jr. was strict, had high expectations, enforced rules Raymond III wasn't used to, curfews, chores, Consequences. Raymond III struggled. According to defense expert Dr. James Henry, a professor at Western Michigan University specializing in childhood trauma, Raymond III had below-average intellectual functioning. IQ tests showed he struggled, had difficulty finding words to communicate, couldn't express his thoughts clearly. He'd experienced complex trauma, PTSD, abandonment issues, attachment problems. The transition to living with his father was difficult. Raymond Jr. believed in discipline, structure, making his kids earn respect. But Raymond III interpreted it differently. He felt controlled, restricted, suffocated. Sister Jasmine later testified about the family dynamics at Raymond III's trial. Raymond Jr. would punish Raymond III by making him wait. He wouldn't discipline him right away, Jasmine said. He would tell Raymond he'd deal with it later, after Raymond fell asleep. That way Raymond would sit with the anxiety of not knowing what was coming. This psychological tactic, the waiting, the uncertainty, the fear, ate at Raymond III. In January 2021, Raymond III had a girlfriend. Her name hasn't been released publicly because she was a minor, but she played a key role in what happened. On Saturday, January 23, 2021, Raymond III wanted to stay overnight at his girlfriend's house. His father said no, absolutely not. Raymond III went anyway, took his father's car without permission, a silver Chevy Malibu. He drove to his girlfriend's house, spent the evening there. Around midnight, Raymond Jr. called his son's phone. "Where are you?" "At my girlfriend's." "I told you no. Come home. Now." Raymond III came home, walked into the house around 12:30 a.m. His father was waiting. The argument was brief, tense. "You left without permission, took my car, broke curfew. You're in trouble. Discipline will be meted out later." That phrase, later. Raymond Jr. went to bed. So did Kezzie. The house settled into silence. But Raymond III didn't sleep. He sat in his room, thinking, seething, planning. Discipline will be meted out later. He knew what that meant. His father would wait until Raymond III fell asleep, then wake him up, punish him, make him feel helpless and humiliated. Raymond III wasn't going to let that happen. Around 3:30 a.m., Raymond III made a decision that would end 6 lives, including an unborn baby who would never take a breath. If you're still watching, you're clearly interested in real cases told in full. Like, share, subscribe now, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what comes next. Raymond Childs III's mother testified at his trial. Her name was never released publicly, but her testimony revealed something devastating. When Raymond moved in with his father at age 12, his mother essentially vanished from his life. After Raymond went to live with his father, "I had very limited contact with him," she testified. Raymond Jr. controlled when and how she could see her son. "He limited the time I could spend with Raymond," she said. Said it was for Raymond's own good. Raymond III never heard from his mother again. Not regularly, not meaningfully. He was 12 years old, living with a father he barely knew. And his mother, the one person he'd known his whole life, was gone. Defense expert Dr. James Henry interviewed all the children in the household. His conclusion was shocking. All of the children expressed they couldn't wait to turn 18. Dr. Henry testified. Every single one. They wanted to get out of there. This wasn't a healthy home environment. Raymond Sr. was strict, controlling. The kids felt trapped. Dr. Henry described Raymond III's intellectual limitations. Raymond's IQ is below average. He struggles to find words, to articulate his thoughts, to express his emotions. When he moved in with his father at age 12, he was put in an environment that demanded verbal communication, negotiation, explanation. Skills Raymond simply didn't have. And when Raymond Sr. would say discipline will be meted out later, Raymond III would sit with anxiety for hours, sometimes days, not knowing what was coming. For someone with Raymond's intellectual functioning and trauma history, that's psychological torture. The prosecution objected repeatedly during this testimony. Objection, Your Honor. This is irrelevant. Trauma doesn't justify murder. Judge Chris Miller. Overruled. The jury will weigh the evidence. But Prosecutor Ryan Mears destroyed this argument in cross-examination. Dr. Henry, you said all the children wanted to leave when they turned 18? Yes. But none of them murdered anyone, did they? No. Only Raymond? Yes. So trauma and a strict household don't make someone a murderer, do they? Not necessarily. Raymond made a choice. Yes or no? Yes. The prosecution also brought up Raymond's history. He'd been in trouble before. Minor incidents, fights at school, skipping class. His father had tried to discipline him, set boundaries, but Raymond resisted. On January 23, 2021, the night before the murders, Raymond didn't just break curfew. He stole his father's car, drove without permission, spent the night at his girlfriend's house after being told no. When Raymond Jr. called him at midnight and told him to come home, Raymond knew he was in trouble, big trouble, and he decided he wasn't going to face it. When the murders happened, the entire neighborhood was traumatized. This is one of the worst mass shootings Indianapolis has seen in a decade, Prosecutor Ryan Mears said. What occurred inside that home is as unfathomable today as it was in 2021. The community came together, held vigils, raised money for the surviving family members. But nothing could bring back the 6 lives lost. Raymond Jr., who mentored kids through music. Kezzie, who worked hard to hold the family together. Elijah, who was about to become a father. Rita, only 13, with her whole life ahead of her. Kiara, 9 months pregnant, excited to meet her baby. And Khaos, who never got the chance to be born. All because a 17-year-old didn't want to face punishment for breaking curfew. January 24, 2021. Sunday morning, 3:30 a.m. The house on Adams Street was quiet, dark. Elijah and Kiara were asleep upstairs. Kiara's pregnant belly between them. Baby Khaos due in 7 days. Rita was in her bedroom, 13 years old, dreaming. Xavier was downstairs near the kitchen. Couldn't sleep. Got up to fill a water bottle. Raymond Jr. and Kezzie were in the basement bedroom, exhausted from the day, finally resting. Raymond III was awake, had been awake all night. He'd been thinking, planning, working up the courage. He grabbed a gun from the house, a 9mm handgun. There were 3 guns in the house total. Raymond Jr. kept them for protection. Never imagined his own son would use them. Raymond III started upstairs. Xavier was in the kitchen, filling his water bottle at the sink. He heard footsteps, creaking on the stairs. Thought maybe someone else couldn't sleep too. Then he heard it. A gunshot, loud, sharp, echoing through the house. Xavier froze, water bottle in hand. What was that? Another gunshot. Xavier's heart pounded. He dropped the water bottle. Where was that coming from? Upstairs. Elijah's room. Xavier wanted to run upstairs, check on his brother, but something told him, hide. He crept toward the laundry room, near the basement stairs, heard more footsteps, running, shouting. Rita's voice. Raymond shot Elijah. She was screaming it, panicked, terrified. Raymond shot Elijah. Raymond shot Elijah. Xavier ducked into the laundry room, left the door cracked, just an inch, peeked through. Saw Rita in the hallway, still screaming. Then Raymond appeared, gun in hand. Rita looked at him. Her brother, her big brother who used to protect her. Raymond raised the gun. 1 shot. Rita dropped, fell to the floor, blood pooling around her. Xavier covered his mouth, trying not to scream, trying not to breathe. Downstairs, Raymond Jr. woke up. He'd heard Rita screaming. Heard the gunshot that killed her. He jumped out of bed. Kezzie right behind him. What was that? Raymond Jr. shouted. He ran to the basement stairs. Started climbing. What was that? What's going on? Raymond III was already coming down. Father and son locked eyes. Raymond Jr. knew. Instantly, he knew. His son had a gun. There was blood on his clothes. Rita's screams had stopped. "Raymond!" Raymond Jr. said, his voice breaking. He didn't fight, didn't try to grab the gun, didn't run. He just looked at his son and said, "I'm sorry, Raymond. I love you." Those were his last words. Raymond III raised the gun, shot his father in the chest. Raymond Jr. staggered backward, fell. Raymond III kept shooting, multiple times. Kezzie screamed, turned to run back into the bedroom. Raymond III shot her too, in the back. She fell forward. He stood over both of them, made sure, shot them again, and again. The 9mm handgun clicked. Empty. Raymond III dropped it. The gun fell next to his father's body. Xavier watched it all. Through the crack in the laundry room door, he saw Raymond shoot their father. Heard the words, "I'm sorry, Raymond. I love you." Saw Raymond shoot Kezzie. Saw both parents fall. Xavier's whole body shook, tears streaming down his face. He wanted to scream, to run, to help, but he couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Raymond turned, looked around. Xavier held his breath, prayed Raymond wouldn't check the laundry room. Raymond walked past, didn't look inside. Xavier heard footsteps going back upstairs. Then nothing. Silence. Xavier waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Is it over? Is Raymond gone? Xavier slowly opened the laundry room door, crept out, saw his parents' bodies, blood everywhere. He couldn't look, couldn't process it. He had to get out, had to run, had to get help. Xavier crept toward the back door, hands shaking, opened it, stepped outside into the cold January night. The back door led to a small fenced yard. Xavier moved quickly toward the gate. That's when he heard it. "Where are you going?" Raymond was standing there, in the yard, waiting. He'd been waiting for Xavier to come outside. Xavier froze, looked at his brother. Raymond had a gun in his hand, not the 9mm, a different one. "Please," Xavier begged, his voice shaking. "Please don't." Raymond said nothing, just stared. Xavier reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet. "I can give you $40, Xavier said, desperate. "I can give you $40. Please don't kill me." He pulled out the money, all of it, everything he had, $44. Xavier held it out, hand trembling. "Please." Raymond looked at the money, then he raised the gun and pulled the trigger. The first shot hit Xavier's leg, just above the knee. Xavier screamed, fell to the ground, clutching his leg. Blood poured through his fingers. "Please," Xavier screamed. "Please stop." Raymond aimed again, shot Xavier in the arm. The bullet tore through muscle and tissue. Xavier fell onto his side, writhing in pain, blood everywhere. Raymond stepped closer, aimed for Xavier's head. This would be the kill shot. Xavier looked up, saw the gun pointed at his face, closed his eyes. The shot rang out, missed. Raymond had fired, but the bullet went wide, struck the fence behind Xavier. Xavier opened his eyes, still alive. Raymond stood there, gun in hand, staring at his brother bleeding on the ground. Then Raymond turned, walked away, left Xavier there, bleeding, dying. Xavier lay there for a moment, in shock, in pain. Am I dead? Am I dying? He looked at his leg, blood soaking through his pants. His arm, also bleeding, but not as bad. He had to move, had to get help. Xavier started crawling, inch by inch, dragging himself across the yard, through the gate, onto the sidewalk. He left a trail of blood behind him. The neighbor's house was next door, maybe 50 feet away. Felt like miles. Xavier crawled, his leg screaming in pain, his arm useless. He reached the neighbor's front porch, pulled himself up the steps, pounded on the door with his good hand. "Help!" Xavier screamed. "Please help me." The neighbors, a couple in their 40s, woke up. They heard pounding, screaming. The husband opened the door, saw a teenage boy, covered in blood, collapsing on their porch. "Oh my God!" the neighbor shouted. "Call 911. His wife grabbed her phone, dialed. The neighbor helped Xavier, tried to apply pressure to the wounds. What happened? Who did this? Xavier was fading, losing blood, going into shock. My brother, Xavier whispered. Raymond. He shot everyone. Who? Who did he shoot? Everyone. My parents. My brother. My sister. Everyone. Where? Xavier pointed. Next door. 3518 Adams Street. They're all dead. The neighbor's wife spoke into the phone. We need police and ambulances. Now, 3500 block of Adams Street. We have a gunshot victim. Teenage boy. He says there are multiple people shot next door. 911 dispatcher. Is the shooter still on scene? I don't know. He says his brother did it. Get inside. Lock the doors. We're sending units now. 3:43 a.m. Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department received the call. Shots fired. Multiple victims. 3500 block of Adams Street. One victim is at neighbor's house. 3516 Adams Street. Says there are more victims next door. Suspect possibly still on scene. Units were dispatched immediately. Patrolman Andrew Guzman was one of the first officers to arrive. He pulled up to the scene, saw Xavier on the neighbor's porch. Paramedics already working on him. Where's the shooter? Guzman asked. We don't know, a paramedic said. Kid says his brother did it. Says there are more victims in that house. She pointed to 3518 Adams Street. Guzman radioed for backup. More units arrived within minutes. Officers approached 3518 Adams Street. Weapons drawn. The back door was open. Blood trail leading from the house to the yard. Police. Anyone inside? No response. Officers entered. Slowly, carefully. The smell hit them immediately. Gunpowder. Blood. We got a body, an officer shouted. Basement. Female. Gunshot wounds. Another officer. Another body. Male. Also basement. Multiple gunshot wounds. Body cam footage later showed their reactions. We got 5, one officer said into his radio. Dispatch. 5 victims. Affirmative. 5 down. All appear deceased. But they were wrong. It was 6 victims. Kiara was pregnant. Baby cows died with her. Officers cleared the house room by room. Upstairs bedroom. Elijah and Kiara. Both shot in the head. Kiara visibly pregnant. Hallway, Rita, 13. Single gunshot wound. Dead. Basement bedroom. Raymond Jr. and Kezzie. Multiple gunshot wounds. A 9mm handgun lying next to Raymond Jr.'s body. Empty. Scene is secure, an officer radioed. We have 5 deceased. 1 survivor transported to hospital. Need homicide detectives and crime scene investigators. Outside, paramedics loaded Xavier into an ambulance. He was conscious. Barely. Stay with us, a paramedic said. You're going to be okay. Xavier's eyes fluttered. My family. We're taking care of them. Just focus on staying with us. Raymond did it, Xavier whispered. My brother Raymond. What's his full name? Raymond Ronald Lee Childs III. Where is he now? I don't know. He left. He shot me and left. The ambulance rushed Xavier to Ashkenazi Hospital. Emergency surgery on his leg and arm. Doctors worked for hours. The bullet in his leg had narrowly missed the femoral artery. If it had hit, Xavier would have bled out in minutes. The bullet in his arm caused significant tissue damage but no permanent disability. Xavier was lucky, incredibly lucky. He'd survive. But the images in his mind, watching his parents die, hearing his father's last words, begging for his life with $44, would haunt him forever. Back at the crime scene, detectives arrived. Homicide detective Michael Duke took lead. He walked through the house, room by room, photographing everything. Blood spatter patterns, shell casings, the empty 9mm handgun, the trail of blood leading from the basement bedroom to the back door. Xavier's blood. Upstairs, detectives found Elijah and Kiara, both shot execution style. Single shots to the head. Kiara's pregnant belly was visible. Detectives noted it in their reports. Victim is approximately 9 months pregnant. Unborn child is also deceased. That made 6 victims. 6 murders. In Rita's room, detectives found her backpack. Homework. A stuffed animal. She was just 13. A child. Detective Duke interviewed the neighbors who'd helped Xavier. They described hearing pounding on their door, finding Xavier bleeding. His exact words, "My brother Raymond shot everyone." Police immediately put out a bolo be on the lookout for Raymond Childs III. Description: black male, 17 years old, approximately 5 feet 8 inches, 150 pounds. Last seen wearing dark clothing. Armed and dangerous. But Raymond was gone. Vanished. Police checked his girlfriend's house. She said Raymond had been there earlier that night. Left around 1 a.m. after his father called. Came back around 3:45 a.m. with 2 bags of clothes. "My dad kicked me out," Raymond had told her. Around 4 a.m., the girlfriend received an alert on her Citizens app. Shooting on 36th Street. Then another. Shooting on Adams Street. She showed Raymond the alerts. "Do you know anything about this?" "No," Raymond said. Acted confused. The girlfriend thought it was suspicious. But Raymond convinced her he had nothing to do with it. Later that morning, Raymond convinced his girlfriend to drive him to the crime scene. "I need to check on my family," he said. They drove to Adams Street. Police were everywhere. Crime scene tape, ambulances, news cameras. Raymond started crying when he saw it. "Acting like a clown," the girlfriend later testified. "I'd never seen him emotional like that before." Police spotted Raymond at the scene, recognized him from the bolo, but they didn't arrest him. Not yet. They needed more evidence. Witnesses. Forensics. They let him go, but they were watching. 24 hours later, they'd have everything they needed. And Raymond Childs III would be arrested for 6 counts of murder. January 24, 2021. Late morning. Xavier was in surgery. Doctors working to save his leg and arm. Detective Michael Duke was at Eskenazi Hospital waiting for Xavier to wake up. He needed Xavier's statement. Every detail. Everything he saw. Around 2 p.m., Xavier came out of surgery. Groggy from anesthesia but alive. Duke sat beside his hospital bed. "Xavier, I'm Detective Duke. I need to ask you some questions about what happened. Can you do that?" Xavier nodded. Tears in his eyes. "Start from the beginning. Tell me everything." Xavier took a breath. Winced from the pain. He described the argument Raymond had with their father. The curfew. Discipline will be meted out later. He described being in the kitchen around 3:30 a.m. Filling a water bottle. Hearing gunshots. Rita screaming, "Raymond shot Elijah!" Hiding in the laundry room. Watching through the crack in the door as Raymond came downstairs. His father saying, "I'm sorry, Raymond. I love you." Raymond shooting their father. Then Kezzie. Xavier escaping through the back door. Raymond waiting for him outside. The $44. Getting shot twice. The missed headshot. Crawling to the neighbors. "Raymond did it," Xavier said, voice breaking. "My own brother killed them all." Duke recorded every word. "Do you know where Raymond might go?" Xavier gave addresses. Raymond's girlfriend. His cousin Elanso Valles. Other relatives. Duke thanked Xavier. Promised they'd find Raymond. Meanwhile, other detectives were processing the crime scene. Crime scene investigator Sarah Chen photographed everything. The basement bedroom where Raymond Jr. and Kezzie died. The 9mm handgun next to Raymond Jr. empty magazine. No fingerprints, wiped clean. Blood spatter on the walls showing the trajectory of bullets. Shell casings. 9 total in the basement. Upstairs, more shell casings. 2 in Elijah's room. 1 in the hallway where Rita died. Chun measured everything. Documented everything. Blood samples were collected. Would be tested for DNA. But they already knew whose blood it was. The victims. Xavier's leading out the back door. Extended family members arrived at the scene throughout the day. Raymond Jr.'s siblings, cousins, friends, they were devastated, in shock. One family member, Raymond's uncle, approached police. "I need to tell you something," he said. "What?" "Raymond called me this morning, around 4 a.m., said he needed a ride." "Where?" "To his girlfriend's house. I picked him up at a gas station on 38th Street. Did he say anything?" "No. He was quiet, looked upset, but I didn't ask questions." Another relative came forward. "Raymond was at my house, around 6 a.m. this morning. He asked to leave some bags here." "What kind of bags?" "Duffel bags. I don't know what was in them. I told him to leave. I had a bad feeling." Police searched the relatives' houses, found the duffel bags. Inside, Raymond's clothes, his father's car keys, money, some personal items. No weapons. Raymond had ditched those somewhere else. By late afternoon, police had enough evidence to obtain an arrest warrant. 6 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, 1 count of carrying a handgun without a license. Now they just had to find Raymond. January 25, 2021. The next day, police tracked Raymond to a house on Wyatt Drive, a relative's home. Officers surrounded the house at dawn. SWAT team on standby. Detective Duke knocked on the door. "This is Indianapolis police. We have a warrant for Raymond Childs III. Send him out." Movement inside the house. The door opened. Raymond walked out. Hands up. Didn't resist. "Raymond Ronald Lee Childs III, you're under arrest for murder." He was handcuffed. Read his rights. Placed in a police car. Raymond said nothing. Stared straight ahead. He was taken to the homicide office. Placed in an interrogation room. Detective Duke and his partner entered. "Raymond, you know why you're here?" "No. Your family is dead. 6 people. Your father, Kezzie, Elijah, Rita, Kiara, her unborn baby, all shot and killed Saturday night." Raymond stared at the table, said nothing. "Your brother Xavier survived. He told us everything. Said you did it." Raymond looked up. "He's lying." "He's lying? He watched you shoot your parents. He was there." "I didn't do it." "Then who did?" "I don't know." "Where were you Saturday night?" "At my girlfriend's house." "All night?" "Yeah." "What about the argument with your dad? About breaking curfew?" Raymond paused. "I came home. We argued. Then I left." "You left? When?" "Around 1 a.m. "And you never came back?" "No." Duke pulled out photos. Crime scene photos. "This is your father. Shot multiple times. This is Kezzie. This is Elijah, Kiara, Rita." He laid them out on the table, one by one. "Your family, Raymond, all dead." Raymond looked at the photos. No emotion. "I didn't do it." Duke leaned forward. "Xavier said you shot him. Twice. Left him to die. Is Xavier lying about that too?" Raymond said nothing. "You offered to check on your family. Drove to the crime scene with your girlfriend. Why would you do that if you already knew they were dead?" "I didn't know." "But you did. Because you killed them." "I want a lawyer." The interrogation ended. Raymond was booked into the Marion County Jail, charged as an adult despite being 17. Indiana law allows this for violent felonies. He'd face 6 counts of murder, attempted murder, weapons violations. If convicted, he'd spend the rest of his life in prison. The community was in shock. A music producer and his family, wiped out by his own son. The story made national news. Teen kills 6 family members over curfew violation. People couldn't comprehend it. Over a curfew? Over discipline? How does that lead to 6 murders? But Raymond Childs III wasn't done shocking people. Because when he finally went to trial 3 years later, his defense would claim something nobody expected. If you're still watching, you're clearly interested in real cases told in full. Like, share, subscribe now, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what comes next. Raymond Childs III sat in jail for 3.5 years waiting for trial. He was housed in juvenile detention initially since he was 17 when arrested. But as he turned 18, 19, 20, he was transferred to adult holding. His attorneys, public defenders assigned to his case, spent years building a defense. They knew the evidence was overwhelming. Xavier's testimony, the crime scene, the girlfriend's statements, the relatives who saw Raymond that morning. But they had a strategy. Dr. James Henry, professor at Western Michigan University, expert on childhood trauma and PTSD. Dr. Henry interviewed Raymond extensively, reviewed his history, his childhood, his experiences. Henry's conclusion: Raymond Childs III was a victim too, of trauma, of domestic violence, of a broken childhood. Raymond had witnessed his mother being beaten by boyfriends, felt helpless. He moved in with his father at age 12, a man he barely knew and struggled to adapt. Raymond's IQ tested below average. He had difficulty communicating, expressing himself. When his father disciplined him by making him wait, building anxiety about unknown punishment, it triggered Raymond's trauma. Henry argued Raymond snapped, lost control, didn't fully comprehend what he was doing. This wasn't premeditated murder. This was a traumatized teen having a psychological break. The defense also planned to challenge Xavier's testimony. It was dark. The laundry room was far from the basement bedroom. Could Xavier really see clearly through a crack in the door? Xavier initially told police they shot his parents, plural, as if multiple shooters. Later he said just Raymond. Which was it? The defense would argue Xavier was traumatized, in shock, his memory unreliable. And the forensic evidence? The defense hired their own experts to re-examine blood spatter, bullet trajectories, timelines. But as the trial approached, another problem emerged. Raymond's story kept changing. First he said he wasn't home. Then he admitted he was home but left before the murders. Then he claimed someone else did it. His attorneys struggled to pin down a consistent narrative. And there was another issue. Raymond showed no remorse. In jail, he was calm, unemotional, didn't cry about his family, didn't express guilt. This would be a problem at trial. Jurors needed to see humanity, regret, something, but Raymond gave them nothing. July 2024, Raymond's first trial began. He was now 20 years old. Prosecutor Ryan Mears opened with a devastating statement. Raymond Childs III methodically murdered 6 people. His father, his stepmother, his brother Elijah, his sister Rita, just 13 years old, his brother's pregnant girlfriend Kiara, and her unborn baby Khaos, due in 1 week. Mears described the murders room by room, showed crime scene photos, shell casings, blood spatter analysis, called witnesses, neighbors, first responders, crime scene investigators. Then came Xavier, now 18 years old, 3.5 years older than the night he was shot. He walked to the witness stand, avoided looking at Raymond. Prosecutor: Xavier, can you tell the jury what happened on January 24th, 2021? Xavier took a breath. I was in the kitchen, filling a water bottle. It was around 3:30 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. What happened next? I heard gunshots, loud. I didn't know what to do. I heard my sister Rita screaming. What was she saying? She was saying Raymond shot Elijah, over and over. What did you do? I hid, in the laundry room. I left the door open a little bit so I could see. What did you see? Xavier's voice cracked. I saw Raymond come downstairs. He had a gun. My dad ran to the stairs and Raymond. Xavier stopped, crying. The judge allowed a break. When testimony resumed, Xavier continued. My dad said, I'm sorry, Raymond. I love you. Then Raymond shot him. How many times? I don't know. Multiple times. He shot my mom too. What happened next? I ran, out the back door. Raymond was waiting. What did he do? I begged him. I said I could give him money. $40. I had $44. I pulled it out and offered it to him. What did Raymond say? Nothing. He just shot me. Where? In my leg. Then my arm. Then he aimed at my head but missed. Did you think you were going to die? Yes. The courtroom was silent. Defense attorney stood to cross-examine. Xavier, it was dark, correct? Yes. And you were in the laundry room, which is not directly next to the basement bedroom, correct? Correct. So you couldn't see clearly? I could see enough. But you initially told police they shot your parents. Plural. As if multiple people. I was in shock. I meant Raymond. Are you sure? Yes. I know what I saw. The cross-examination continued, but Xavier didn't waver. Then Dr. James Henry testified for the defense. He described Raymond's trauma, his PTSD, his difficult childhood. Raymond witnessed domestic violence. He felt helpless. When he moved in with his father, he struggled. The discipline, the waiting, it triggered him. Prosecutor objected. Objection. Trauma doesn't justify murder. Sustained. But the damage was done. The jury had heard it. 5 days into the trial, something happened. A family member, sitting in the gallery, couldn't contain themselves anymore. They turned to Raymond, looked him in the eye, and asked loudly, "Why did you do it, Raymond? Why?" The courtroom erupted. Judge banged his gavel. Order. Order in the court. The judge removed the family member immediately. But the jury had heard it. A direct confrontation. An accusation. Raymond's attorney moved for a mistrial. The jury has been prejudiced. My client cannot get a fair trial. The judge agreed. July 23, 2024. Mistrial declared. The case would have to be tried again. Xavier was devastated. He testified, relived the trauma, faced his brother. For nothing. Now he'd have to do it all over again. But the prosecution was determined. We'll try this case as many times as necessary, Ryan Mears said. Justice for these victims will be served. A new trial was scheduled. October 2024. This time there would be no mistakes. Defense attorney Courtney Benson Coy had a theory. What if Raymond Childs III didn't act alone? What if there were two shooters? In pretrial motions, Benson Coy argued this aggressively. 2 guns were used that night, she told the court. A 9mm handgun and another firearm. The ballistics show different weapons. If 2 guns were used, that suggests 2 shooters, not 1. She pointed to Xavier's initial statement to police. When Xavier first spoke to officers, bleeding, in shock, traumatized, he said, "They shot my parents. They," plural, not he, not Raymond. They. Xavier himself said there were multiple shooters, Benson Coy argued. He only changed his story later. The prosecution countered. Xavier was in shock. He'd been shot twice. He clarified immediately that he meant Raymond. And as for 2 guns, Raymond had access to multiple firearms in the house. He used one upstairs, grabbed another for downstairs. Simple as that. But Benson Coy pushed further. She hired her own forensic expert to review the crime scene. The expert analyzed bullet trajectories, blood spatter patterns, shell casing locations. The evidence is consistent with 2 shooters. The expert testified at a pretrial hearing. The angles of some shots suggest someone shooting from a different position than where Raymond would have been standing. Prosecutor Ryan Mears dismantled this. Your Honor, this is a desperate attempt to create reasonable doubt where none exists. Xavier watched Raymond shoot his parents. Watched through a crack in the laundry room door. Raymond chased Xavier outside and shot him twice. Left him for dead. There's no second shooter. There's only Raymond Childs III. The judge agreed. The 2-shooter theory was not presented to the jury. Ruled inadmissible. But it showed how far the defense was willing to go. Raymond's attorneys also tried to suppress Xavier's testimony. They argued Xavier was too traumatized. His memory too unreliable. Xavier was 15 years old. In the dark. Hiding in a laundry room. Peeking through a crack in the door. He couldn't possibly have seen clearly enough to identify the shooter with certainty. The judge denied this motion too. Xavier's testimony is credible. The jury will decide how much weight to give it. As the second trial approached, the defense knew they were in trouble. The evidence was overwhelming. Xavier's testimony was powerful. The forensics were damning. Their only hope was to humanize Raymond, show the jury his trauma, his difficult childhood, his intellectual limitations, make them see him as a victim too. But there was one problem. Raymond himself. He showed no remorse, no emotion, no humanity. In jail, guards reported Raymond was calm, unemotional, didn't cry about his family. When his attorneys visited, Raymond was matter-of-fact. I didn't do it. But Raymond, Xavier testified. He's lying. The forensics. They're wrong. Raymond refused to accept reality, and that would be his downfall at sentencing. October 2024, 3 months after the mistrial, Raymond Childs' 3-second trial began. Same charges, same evidence, same courtroom, but this time the judge issued strict warnings. Anyone who disrupts these proceedings will be removed and charged with contempt. No outbursts, no confrontations, silence. The gallery was packed again, but tense, everyone on edge. Prosecutor Ryan Mears gave his opening statement. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about choices. Raymond Childs III made a choice on January 24, 2021. He chose to murder 6 people. His father, who said, "I love you," before dying. His stepmother, his brother, his 13-year-old sister, pregnant woman, an unborn baby. The defense will tell you Raymond is a victim, that he experienced trauma, that he snapped. But millions of people experience trauma. They don't murder their families. Raymond Childs III is not a victim. He is a killer. The defense gave their opening. Raymond Childs III is a broken young man. He witnessed violence as a child, moved in with a father he didn't know, struggled intellectually, couldn't communicate his feelings. When his father told him discipline will be meted out later, it triggered years of accumulated trauma. Yes, 6 people died. That's a tragedy. But this case isn't as simple as the prosecution wants you to believe. The trial proceeded over 5 days. Day 1, crime scene evidence, photos, shell casings, blood spatter analysis. Patrolman Andrew Guzman testified about arriving at the scene. We found 5 bodies. All appeared to have died from gunshot wounds. The scene was devastating. Crime scene investigator Sarah Chun testified about processing the house. We found shell casings in multiple locations. 9 in the basement, 2 upstairs in Elijah's room, 1 in the hallway where Rita died. We found the murder weapon, a 9mm handgun, next to Raymond Childs Sr.'s body. It was empty, had been wiped clean of fingerprints. Day 2 witness testimony. The girlfriend testified. Raymond came to my house around 3:45 a.m. He had 2 bags of clothes. Said his dad kicked him out. I got an alert on my Citizens app about a shooting on Adams Street. I showed Raymond. He acted confused. The next morning, he wanted to go to the crime scene. When we got there and he saw all the police, he started crying. I'd never seen him emotional like that. Cousin Elanso Valles testified. Raymond called me around 4 a.m., asked for a ride. I picked him up at a gas station. He was quiet, didn't say much. I dropped him at his girlfriend's house. Neighbors testified about Xavier pounding on their door, bleeding, saying, "My brother shot everyone." Day 3, Xavier's testimony. The courtroom held its breath. Xavier walked to the stand. Now 18, almost 19. He'd done this before. 3 months ago at the first trial. Now he had to do it again. Prosecutor: Xavier, tell the jury what happened on January 24, 2021. Xavier described everything. Again, the gunshots, Rita screaming, hiding in the laundry room, watching Raymond shoot their parents. Their father's last words, "I'm sorry, Raymond. I love you." Running outside. The $44. Getting shot twice. The courtroom was silent. Some jurors cried. Defense cross-examined. Xavier, you were traumatized that night, weren't you? Yes. In shock. Yes. And you initially told police they shot your parents. Plural. Correct. I was confused. I meant Raymond. But you said they. I know what I saw. Raymond did it. The defense tried to poke holes. Suggested Xavier's memory was unreliable. But Xavier didn't budge. I watched him do it. I was there. Day 4, expert testimony. Dr. James Henry returned. Testified about Raymond's trauma again. Prosecutor objected repeatedly. Objection. Irrelevant. Trauma doesn't excuse murder. Judge. Overruled. The jury will weigh the evidence. But on cross-examination, the prosecutor destroyed Henry's testimony. Dr. Henry, millions of people experience trauma. Do they all become murderers? No. Raymond Childs III made a choice, didn't he? He was triggered. He made a choice. Yes or no? Yes. Day 5. Closing arguments. Prosecutor Ryan Mears. Raymond Childs III went room to room. Shot Elijah and Kiara while they slept. Shot Rita when she screamed. Shot his father after his father said, "I love you." Shot his stepmother. Chased down his brother Xavier and shot him twice. This wasn't a moment of rage. This was systematic. Calculated. Murder. Find him guilty. Give these victims justice. Defense. Raymond Childs III is guilty of a terrible crime. We're not denying that. But this case is about context. Raymond is a victim of his circumstances, of trauma, of a system that failed him. Consider that when you deliberate. The jury left to deliberate. October 25, 2024. Less than 3 hours later. The jury returned. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On the charge of murder in the death of Raymond Childs Jr., how do you find the defendant? Guilty. On the charge of murder in the death of Kezzie Childs? Guilty. On the charge of murder in the death of Elijah Childs? Guilty. On the charge of murder in the death of Rita Childs? Guilty. On the charge of murder in the death of Kiara Hawkins? Guilty. On the charge of murder in the death of Khaos Hawkins, the unborn child? Guilty. On the charge of attempted murder of Xavier Childs? Guilty. On the charge of carrying a handgun without a license? Guilty. Raymond showed no emotion, stared straight ahead. The victims' families cried, hugged each other. Xavier sat in the gallery, tears streaming down his face. It was over. Finally, justice. But sentencing wouldn't come for months. And when it did, Raymond would say something that shocked everyone. As we moved to the end, like, share, subscribe and turn on notification bell. The guilty verdict came in October 2024. But sentencing wouldn't happen until March 2025. 5 months. During that time, the victims' families prepared their impact statements. Rita Hawkins, Kiara's mother, had lost both her daughter and her grandson in one night. She'd been planning a baby shower, buying clothes for Khaos, preparing to be a grandmother. Now she had nothing but grief. At the sentencing hearing, Rita stood before the court. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. My daughter Kiara was 19 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. She was 9 months pregnant, due in 1 week. We had the nursery ready, the crib built, clothes folded. Khaos was going to be born on January 31st, 2021. We would have met him, held him, watched him grow. But Raymond Childs took that away from us. Rita looked directly at Raymond. You didn't just kill my daughter. You killed my grandson. You killed our future. To see you behind bars for the rest of your life, that would be justice served for me. She turned back to the judge. Please don't let him out. Ever. He doesn't deserve freedom. Not after what he did. Raymond Jr.'s brother spoke next. My brother was a good man. He worked with kids in the community through his music programs. New Street, New Path, New Wave Incorporated. He mentored teenagers, helped them stay out of trouble, gave them opportunities. And his own son, the boy he took in at age 12, tried to raise, tried to discipline, killed him. My brother's last words were, I'm sorry, Raymond. I love you. Even as his son shot him, he apologized. He loved him. That's the kind of man Raymond Sr. was. And his son murdered him over a curfew. Kezzie's sister spoke through tears. Kezzie was a stepmother. She didn't have to take on Raymond Sr.'s kids. But she did. She loved them, cared for them. She worked full-time, came home and made dinner, helped with homework, did everything a mother should do. And Raymond shot her in the back as she tried to run away. Rita's middle school teacher spoke. Rita was 13 years old, 8th grade. She loved reading, wanted to be a teacher someday. She was sweet, kind, never caused trouble. She screamed, "Raymond shot Elijah," trying to warn her family, and he killed her for it. She was a child, 13 years old. She didn't deserve this. Elijah's best friend spoke. Elijah was quiet, gentle. He and Kiara were so excited about Khaos. They'd picked the name months earlier. Elijah worked, saved money, was planning to get his own place so they could raise Khaos together. He was going to be a good father. I know he was. Raymond took that away from him, from Khaos, from all of us. The courtroom was silent except for crying. Judge Chris Miller had heard dozens of impact statements in his career. But this case, 6 victims, including an unborn baby, was different. "The court has heard your statements," Judge Miller said, "and the court will take them into consideration." Then it was Raymond's turn to speak. His attorney Courtney Benson Coy had coached him for weeks. Apologize. Show remorse. Take responsibility. The judge needs to see humanity. But when Raymond stood up, he ignored all of it. March 10th, 2025. Sentencing hearing. For months after the guilty verdict, Raymond Childs III stood before Judge Chris Miller. He was now 21 years old. The courtroom was packed. Family, friends, media, community members. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. How many years would Raymond get? Judge Miller addressed the court. This case represents one of the worst mass murders in Indianapolis history. 6 people, family, destroyed in a single night. He looked at Raymond. "Mr. Childs, you systematically murdered your father, your stepmother, your brother, your sister, your brother's pregnant girlfriend, and her unborn child. You shot your brother Xavier twice and left him to die. I have reviewed the evidence. I have heard the testimony. I have considered your background and the arguments made by your defense. And I have reached a decision. But first, the victims' families would speak." Impact statements. One by one, they stood. Raymond Jr.'s brother. "My brother was a good man. He worked with kids in the community. He tried to help Raymond. And Raymond killed him for it." Kezzie's sister. "Kezzie was a loving mother. She cared for those kids like they were her own. She didn't deserve this." Elijah's friend. "Elijah was quiet, gentle. He was about to be a father. Raymond took that away from him. Took Khaos away from all of us." Rita's teacher. "Rita was a bright, sweet 13-year-old. She had her whole life ahead of her. Raymond killed her in cold blood." Kiara's mother broke down on the stand. "My daughter was 9 months pregnant, due in 1 week. She and Elijah were so excited to meet Khaos. I'll never hold my grandson, never see him smile, because Raymond Childs killed him before he could even take a breath." Xavier didn't give a statement. He'd said enough. Then it was Raymond's turn. His attorney advised him to apologize. Show remorse. Accept responsibility. Raymond stood. The courtroom leaned forward. What would he say? Raymond looked at the families and said, "Just as I sit here 4 years ago, I'm innocent." Gasps throughout the courtroom. "I'm not a killer. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a bad person. I lost family just like everyone else did. No apology. No remorse. No responsibility." Judge Miller's face hardened. "Mr. Childs, you have been found guilty by a jury of your peers. The evidence against you is overwhelming. Your brother Xavier testified under oath. He watched you murder your family. You shot him and left him to die. You have shown no remorse, no accountability, no humanity. You cannot be trusted to live free in society. The sentence: For the murder of Raymond Childs Jr., you are sentenced to life in prison. For the murder of Kezzie Childs, you are sentenced to life in prison. For the murder of Elijah Childs, you are sentenced to life in prison. For the murder of Rita Childs, you are sentenced to life in prison. For the murder of Kiara Hawkins, you are sentenced to life in prison. For the murder of Khaos Hawkins, you are sentenced to life in prison. These sentences will run consecutively, not concurrently. 6 life sentences, back to back. For the attempted murder of Xavier Childs, you are sentenced to an additional 30 years. For carrying a handgun without a license, an additional 2 years. Your total sentence is 360 years in the Indiana Department of Correction. You will die in prison, Mr. Childs. Raymond was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs. He didn't look back. Xavier watched him go. It's over, Xavier said quietly to his family. It's finally over. But it wasn't really over. Xavier lives with what he saw every day. The image of Raymond shooting their parents. Their father's last words, "I'm sorry, Raymond. I love you." The feeling of being shot. Begging for his life with $44. Crawling through his own blood to survive. He has scars. Physical and emotional. PTSD. Nightmares. Survivor's guilt. Why did he survive when everyone else died? The extended family has taken in Raymond Jr.'s 3 younger children, the ones who weren't home that night. They're growing up without their father, stepmother, and siblings. Habitat for Humanity built them a new house, away from Adams Street, a fresh start. But the trauma remains. In 2026, Xavier gave his first public interview. "I don't hate Raymond," Xavier said. "He's my brother. But he made a choice. And 6 people died because of that choice. I think about them every day. My dad, Kezzie, Elijah, Rita, Kiara, baby Khaos. I carry them with me. And I hope Raymond thinks about them too. Every single day for the rest of his life." Raymond Childs III is currently incarcerated at the Pendleton Correctional Facility in Indiana. He will be eligible for his first parole hearing in 2085. He'll be 81 years old. 6 life sentences. 360 years. He still claims he's innocent. But Xavier knows the truth. He was there. He saw it. He survived it. And he'll never forget. This is Crime Case Voices. Thank you for watching. Raymond Childs Jr. January 1979, January 24, 2021. Age 42. Kezzie Childs. 1979, January 24, 2021. Age 42. Elijah Childs. 2003, January 24, 2021. Age 18. Rita Childs. 2008, January 24, 2021. Age 13. Kiara Hawkins. 2002, January 24, 2021. Age 19. Khaos Hawkins. Unborn, January 24, 2021. Murdered by Raymond Ronald Lee Childs III over a curfew violation. 360 years in prison. Still claims he's innocent. Xavier Childs survived. He carries their memory. Say their names. Never forget.